overall, I kind of dig it, but it could be.
Son, what are you watching there?
Well, Dad, it's Larry Arts Productions, home to many types of content, including stop motions, reviews, unboxings, and other types of videos.
I knew getting the internet for my kid was a mistake.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Monday evening to see that of the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. You see it on screen. It's some dirt racing action here tonight for that of the round of 8, as it is that of the Dilla's Dirt Derby here this evening at Port Royal. As Port Royal, the paradise of speed, and drivers certainly are going to get themselves plenty of speed. It's going to be chaotic, and drivers are unknown on what they're going to be finding themselves in here tonight. And it certainly is going to be a blast, because here up in the booth, we have been getting a little giddy about how tonight's race is going to go, because there's a lot of unknowns that we are getting ourselves into. And we can't wait for it. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is Zach Hall. Zach, we have seen some incredible races. We've seen a lot of first-time winners. Last week, we got to see Noah Steele getting his first win earlier in the season. We got to see Logan breaking Cody Reed. Here tonight, another opportunity for a first-time winner.
A big opportunity it is. This is a completely different skill set, and we could see someone come out here and really shock us tonight. So I'm interested to see how it all plays out. We got a long race ahead of us, 150 laps here on the dirt, and that, I think, is going to play a huge factor when it all comes down to things, as we're watching some qualifying laps be thrown down from the group out here, as drivers are trying to find the speed at the moment to get themselves up the board. But cool to see Barrick Uphold at the top of the board. Again, this is another surprise, I think, for us that we could see with a few drivers that maybe on the asphalt side of things aren't the most well off, but it comes to this dirt, it's a completely different aspect of driving.
That it really is, and Barrick Uphold comes in with some of the most experience coming in on the dirt service here on iRacing, so I'm not surprised to see him on top of the board. A couple of those other drivers, though, such as that in second place currently is going to be Kyle Rochelle. He's looking to be someone to watch out for with some sneaky speed for himself. Danny Cochran, who you see on screen now, the two just having some fun out on track. That is something that drivers are going to be concerned about, is getting into the wall like we just saw there. That is going to be a violation later on in the race if the drivers get caught wall riding too much. As we look at some of the other drivers out there on screen, here's going to be a couple of others giving their test for qualifying, as we got about 50 seconds left here in qualifying before we get into race session. A few drivers that are not allowed to qualify: Martin Morales, Cody Smith, John McAdams, as well as Tyler Horn, as they all had violations from last week's race. As the drivers are getting themselves settled in, 30 seconds left in qualifying here, Zach. And dirt racing is always a fun aspect, because for us in the booth, it's not a regular thing that we get to cover.
That it is not, Sam. It is definitely something a little off the wall for us, and especially at this newer Port Royal track. I mean, we normally see Bristol Dirt being used, also the Eldora Speedway being used, and tonight it's the Port Royal Speedway, the newest addition to iRacing when it comes to the dirt side of things. And this is a very interesting racetrack in that itself. So I'm really kind of not expecting to know what's going to happen play out here tonight. So we're going to be right along here with a lot of these folks, learning how this is all going to shake out.
As qualifying is done, let's get a look at where the drivers are going to be starting out here tonight, as your starting results certainly where the drivers start here tonight may not be where they finish, because during that at the beginning of practice, during the beginning of qualifying, and also at the beginning of this race, this track surface is going to start out as a clean track known as 0%, and some of these drivers know it to be fast in the state of a track where it's not even used, not beaten up. But this track will get beaten up, and we'll see who can evaluate themselves later on. But taking the pole award, Barrick Uphold in 17 is going to take that position. Second place goes to Trenton Jump in the 46. Third's going to go to Kyle Rochelle in the 21. Cody Reed in fourth place with the 25 machine. Fifth's going to go to Danny Cochran in the 2. Mark Whitley in the 77 is going to start in 6th. Malik Kuntz is going to be in 7th for the 98 machine. Jonathan Smith is going to be in 8th place. Noah Steele, winner from last week, going to be in 9th. And Ollie Fonseca finishing out your top 10.
Starting in the 11th position, it'll be Ethan Smith. Followed along him will be Ryan Crowfoot in 12th. 13th goes to Eric Stamp. The 14th position going to Matt Upbrook. Tyler Dingler's going to start in 15th with Joshua Kanata starting in 16th. 17th is going to be Nick Crawford with Jordan Smeets in 18th. 19th, Dakota Moniz, and running on our top 20 is Christopher Norris in the 38th.
Christopher Norris is going to be the last driver with a timed number in, as the rest of the field decided to just go based off fate, as that of John McAdams actually had a penalty. He will be given an EOL to start at the end of the line. Same for that of Tyler Horn in 21st and 22nd position. Going to be bumping up that of Logan Brickey and Martin Morales Jr. as well, going to be given an EOL. GT Rosari will move up. Justin Smith will move up. Cody Smith will be given an EOL, and Joshua Freed will as well move up, with those 4 drivers having to go to the end of the line because of past race penalties. As this field's getting set, 150 laps. Zach, this is one of the longest dirt races we're going to be covering here tonight. And I don't think the drivers were fully expecting this type of a moment, but we've been trying to get reports on how this race is going to go. And Zach, you've got some interesting news coming into this 150 lap race.
That we do. You know, I was looking around trying to figure things out and do a little research on my own and figure things out, because iRacing is completely different on the dirt side of things than it is on the oval side of the aspect. And I know Bristol Dirt, it does allow the surface there for them to change tires, change fuel. But here at the Port Royal Speedway, also including the Eldora Speedway, you cannot fuel these trucks up. And I think that is where it comes into a little bit of an interesting scenario. We got 150 laps. Doing a little bit of crunching of numbers, I only found a few drivers are going to possibly be able to make this race on fuel. Some, it's going to be a wide spread of things, because you got to think, folks, you're never getting wide open with the throttle here. You're very much using the power, trying to put the power down into the dirt, actually, instead of spinning those tires. So you're going to have a few drivers that I think burn a lot more fuel faster and are going to be running out sooner. But I think if we don't get enough cautions, we may not see one truck make it to the finish of this race. So that, I think, is something we need to keep all of in the back of our minds, because we may end up with a fuel mileage race where we don't even get to the 150 laps completed.
And that's something that we've never covered before. So it makes us excited, because we don't know if we've ever going to see that. Is already that of the pace truck pulls into pit road. Yeah, that entry is in the center of the backstretch. Watch out for that at our stage break when drivers think they need to come into pit road, but it's going to be up front. Barrick up hold, Trenton jump. Well, the tensions are high. Drivers don't know what they're going to get themselves into. We do know one thing. Dirt's going to be flying, as that of the Dilla's Dirt Derby is ready to get ramped up here at Port Royal. Green flag is out, and already a little bit of wheel spin going to be showing, but it's going to be Trent Jump with the nose down into turn number 1.
Early start to this race with that clean track. We'll see where the grip level's at. Uphold sliding up, but he's also got Trenton Jump there on his outside. It's starting to hit, and they're making contact. We're going to have a wreck down the back straightaway here if this continues.
And there goes Barrick pulled around, and yellow flag strikes immediately on lap number 1. And it's Kyle Rochelle going to hold the lead as more drivers going to be sliding down to the inside lane. And instantly, already drivers with major issues, and our pole sitter, Zach, required damage already for the 17.
And just like that, that just shows you dirt racing. You can never know what's going to happen till the green flag drops. The guy who is the fastest there in qualifying by a good portion, I'm going to say, too, and like you said, has some of the most dirt experience when it comes to the iRating side of things. He's out of this race quickly, and it's just due to contact between him and Trenton Jump. I kind of expected that, because, you know, this track, the bottom is not very good, it seems like. It seems like it immediately almost goes to the top side of the things, and when it does that, and you're the pole setter, you're starting down low, you're trying to get up clear of that truck on your outside, and it just came to contact between those two that really hurt the 17. And look, he's just going to stop here. I think he might even just call it a night with that damage.
Gonna tow it to pit road, and we'll see how long it's gonna take. I know some drivers were under the understanding that this race could be a situation where if you get a lot of damage, go a couple of laps down, there's gonna be enough cautions. As long as you don't get caught up in an incident, you could get yourself back on the lead lap. But like I said, the potential of the 17 being gone looks like it is confirmed. Barrick Uphold did not even have the chance to run a full green flag lap after getting the pole award. Our first DNF driver is the pole winner here in under 3 laps.
Ooh, it is crazy to see how that just all played out. And now Kyle Rochelle, he's going to take control of this race. And man, oh man, Sam, this is setting up interesting scenes. I mean, personally, the thing I brought up about fuel, this is the best scene for it, for these caution laps, to save the most fuel possible. And we even got our weather up. I think this is a little interesting thing. It's a 22-mile-an-hour right now wind, and I've seen it even upwards of 25, so it's pretty windy out here.
28 at one moment. That is a swirling wind that these drivers are dealing with, and it went dropped down to 16. It's now going up, and you can see the trees in the background also visibly moving because of how much wind there is. And these drivers, that could be another factor to touch on. I mean, because of how slow they're driving, I'm not imagining it's going to be too big of a factor on that end, but these drivers certainly get fun if they've got the trees on. I know some of them take that off of their graphic details so their computers can run to the maximum potential. So some of them might not be seeing the trees moving, but we can, as it is windy, breezy, and it's time for us to get back under green flag conditions. Kyle Rochelle, Cody Reed, a completely different top two are ready for action here tonight. They're going to be wheel spinning it, holding on down in turn number 1. It's going to be 3 wide once again, as it's going to be Kyle Rochelle holding on, but here comes Mark Whitley with the dive bomb move up to that of 3rd place.
Ooh, he just muscled his way to that 3rd place position, used Cody Reed up, and Reed's going to have to drop back to 4th, but great move from Mark Whitley there. And I'm interested to see, can this bottom lane work here while the track is clean? There's no berm built up on that outer groove to help those trucks when it comes to making speed around the top. This could be the time where the bottom actually has a chance.
And Mark Whitley, a driver that has won at a dirt race before. He won all the way back in season 1 at Eldora. He missed out on the 2nd dirt race at Bristol Dirt in season 2. Didn't have a dirt race last season for season 3, but we is back, and it is showing some great action once we're on board with that of the 77. You can see those hands. They are working constantly throughout the corner, and that's what dirt racing gives you. It is a complete driver handful at all times, as that is a 77 trying to figure out how to get by that attrition jump, dealing with some massive damage after his collision with Barrick Uphold on lap 1. But Zach, this is the one thing that's great, is once drivers get split up, we can see some good green flag action.
That we really could. This is going to be looking to run a little bit green here while everybody's already transitioned themselves to the top line, looking to make the most speed possible up there. But again, remember, this is the farthest way around the track. This is also the part of the track that you use the most throttle to carry the most speed, and that's why it's the fastest. But that's also where the fuel is going to burn the quickest.
As right now, the drivers seem to file out for majority of the field. It's the drivers all the way back in frankly last place that are side by side. But we do have a stage break here this evening. Stage break going to be at the end of lap 60 for these drivers. So if we stay green, we know we'll get at least one more caution after our first initial one on lap 1. Again, at the end of lap 60, and bonus points on the line. Top 10 drivers are going to get bonus points at the stage break, as we've seen some newcomers that have not been up front for the majority of the season or have had some bad luck trying to survive up front, and they've been doing a great job. As you see here, that of the 12 machine up into the outside wall, that's going to be Ryan Crowfoot. Crowfoot trying to find some comfort here tonight as he's been practicing a lot. I think that's the one thing that I'm hearing a lot from drivers is they've been trying to practice on how to run this track, but the majority of them practicing on a 100% usage course. So this is something new for a lot of these drivers.
It really is, and that 100 usage course, it has that giant berm that forms on the outer groove that you really get to lean this truck on. It really helps it bite and drive up off and through the center of the corner. So I'm thinking these drivers right now trying their best to stay out of that wall. It's going to be the hardest time to stay out of the wall due to that. And right now everybody doing the best they possibly can. But we're having a nice little green flag run right here, and this is where I worry about fuel more. So the more of these we see, the more that I think will become a factor. But right now it's all about just running your heart's content out and try to get where you can.
Well, Zach, you're talking about some of these drivers running down some pretty fast lap times. The driver that is the slowest right now, and I don't know if he's trying to save fuel or if he's just running in his own lane trying to stay conservative. It's Cody Smith. He's last currently on track, and he's running about 7 seconds slower than the rest of the field, but he's staying directly on the inside, trying to stay out of everyone's way, as he's been in a couple of controversial moments these last couple of weeks. But this could be the safest way to go around. Cody Smith, if our numbers are right, could be the favorite right now to make it to the end of this race.
It very well could be that way, and I'm seeing a couple more drivers do it. Not at the extent Cody Smith is for the speed-wise, but Kanata, Christopher Norris, Nick Crawford, all of them running the very bottom lane, probably thinking about this fuel. Maybe they have had this figured out. I mean, you know, that's the case is a lot of drivers, I just don't think they know you cannot take fuel under these yellows. And, you know, it's going to come back to bite them if they don't know that very quickly at the end of this race. And there's going to be probably some drivers who are a little upset with it.
As our leaders are starting to get a little bit more wiggly up front, let's bounce up to that of Kyle Rochelle, the 21 highlighter. He's got some pressure behind, and that's going to be Trent Jump in the 46 machine. Jump dealing with some major front end and side damage. And right now, the 46, it looks like he's still at full power, and that's a big positive. But Zach, I'm getting more concerned for this 46. If we get later into this run, we get a couple of restarts in, any more damage, his night can be done in an instant.
Quickly it can be over, and here he goes for the slide job maneuver. He's going to throw it up the inside here and slam into the 21. That's not going to work, and that's it's tough to do that. Look, Mark Whitley, he's going to take advantage of it. That gives the 77 the lead. And you got to think the 21, he's going to be a little upset with how that played out.
And immediately over the radio, Trent Jump saying that was not how I wanted to do that. And now going to be seeing the two machine Danny Cochran getting in the mix, and more lap traffic is staying on track. They're on the inside lane, and we are seeing two very different aspects of how they want to run this. The drivers that are confident at dirt racing and feel like they're going to get fuel ripping the top, and then you've got the drivers that are just slow and just want to stay out of the way, staying on the inside lane. And gotta say, this is kind of cool to see. As you can see visually, the two different lanes being utilized, that middle groove still looking fresh as ever.
It really is. That's the coolest thing to see so far, is how different the two lanes are looking just from two different aspects of these drivers driving. As you've seen Danny Cochran there, that was a picture perfect slide job from him. That is what Trenton Jump wanted to do, but it's just hard to pull off when you don't have it pulled off the right way. And tough break for Rochelle, who went from the lead now back to fourth. He's going to be under threat from Cody Reed, also in the 25. But Danny Cochran looking strong in these opening laps. But tell you who's looking very strong is Mark Whitley. He's opening up a gap up front very quickly.
He's opening up a gap, but he's got a lot of lap traffic in front of him that are all deciding to stay on the outside lane and follow their own grooves. And the 77 is soon to have to do a couple of slide job maneuvers if he's going to get by lap traffic, as he's going to have the 6 machine of Justin Smith just get out of the way as the 77 is able to go on by. But another cluster of drivers in the way of our leader to watch out for here very shortly.
That there is. This is where it gets tough for lap traffic, because they're taking away the preferred line from you as a driver, and you're trying your best just not to have, you know, be held up on the exits of these corners, because that's where the easy passes are going to be done. If you get held up late exit, you have to lift a little bit down these long straightaways here at Port Royal. You're going to have that driver up the inside of you trying to make the slide job maneuver down into the next corner, and that's where you're going to give up the most speed. And look at this traffic right here ahead of our leader. It is a gaggle of trucks.
Nick Crawford going to be throwing it to the inside, trying to stay out of the way. They're going to be 3 wide in front of our leader, and one slight mistake could be costly for everyone here. As Mark Whitley, it is time for him to test his fate of courage, as he's going to be able to get by at least 2 of the 5 lap drivers. Next one in line is going to be Tyler Horn in the 26, as well as John McAdams. And currently, right now, only 19 drivers on the lead lap, and Mark Whitley going to split the middle with Cody Smith staying low. McAdams stays high. The 77 trying to build up the groove and get back in the throttle, but there's just no momentum for himself, as he'll keep it side by side with Tyler Horn.
Oh, he's going to pull a big move here, sliding off the inside bottom lane, and see if he can pull up alongside the lap car. John McAdam has to slide back up to the top, but at least now has the preferred entry line. But he's got to find a way around, because here comes Trenton Jump behind him, and lap traffic is what's going to play a factor in this race the most when it comes to racing up front.
And also lap traffic, they're trying to run their own lanes, but they're also getting into that outside wall. And here's the thing, this track's not going to get any easier. It's going to get tougher and tougher, and we're only 24 laps in. Mark Whitley, watch out. Trenton Jump on the outside gets the better run, and it's all trying to set up and get by the lap car. Trenton Jump's figured it out as Mark Whitley continues to stall on the inside.
What a maneuver from the 46 machine. We've seen him pull off some amazing moves this season with the 3 wide at Watkins Glen. Well, look at this. Here comes Danny Cochran. He wants to do the same thing Trenton Jump did, but Whitley's going to hold it a little bit lower with the slider line from the entry to the bottom all the way to the top, and not going to be able to get past there that time. But Trenton Jump, round of applause for him, folks, because that was an amazing maneuver.
As Mark Whitley now going to be in a championship sandwich. Trenton Jump Season 2 champion. Then you also going to have Season 3 champion and Danny Cochran right behind him. But like you said, there's Zach Trenton Jump. Some incredible moves. You know, you think back to that of the Watkins Glen 3 wide move into the bus stop, and some others that this 46 has just been gutsy on taking, and they've worked out so far. And he's going to continue to make these pushes as aggressive as possible, as we're getting to see a good picture here from the front nose of the fabulous Hudson Hornet of Cody Reed, who's bringing in a little bit of cars action for himself.
That he is. And oh man, up in front of him, you can see the slide job maneuver. Oh man, Martin Morales up into the 46 of Trenton Jump, and it's going to check him up. That allows Mark Whitley to go around, and now Danny Cochran, we're riding on board, or sorry, we're on board with Danny Cochran here in third, as he's trying to make his run towards these drivers.
Top 3 just can't get away from one another, and they keep on sliding back and forth, and lap traffic certainly giving them some opportunities. Talk about using lap traffic as a pick, and it certainly is being used up right now, as we're just a few laps away from the halfway marker of that of our stage break. And Zach, this is the complete opposite of I think a lot of what the drivers were expecting coming into tonight, but also for the fuel wise, This is not what they need. It's this long green flag run so far.
Worst case scenario possible. This is going to play right into the hands of drivers like the 38. They're running on the bottom, going as slow as possible right here. I'm telling you, I just don't think a lot of drivers know that you can't take fuel. It's you know, you would think it's a common thing to be able to come when you come down pit road, especially if you can change tires like you can. You would think you'd be able to fuel these trucks up. You cannot though, folks. So this is going to play a factor here, especially when we get that stage break at lap 60. We could see some of these drivers, even a lot of them who got lapped, stay out, get a wave around, and get one of those laps back, even possibly that they've already lost.
And who knows if they're even going to attempt that, because some of them might even think about just, you know, stay a lap down and they'll be all right to get those laps back, because they were expecting a lot more carnage, because this track's going to be a lot more used up. Once we go into that restart after this stage break, that is going to be a very complicated time, because I'm expecting a very similar way that our first part of this race started, with drivers sliding and running into one another. I'm expecting the same exact thing at our stage break. But we have some bad news for some drivers that are already out of this race. That of Barrick Uphold was already caught up in that lap 1 wreck, got the pole, but was out of the race before lap 2 was even done. And now newcomer to the DNF train, going to be that of Matt Upbrook. He is done as well. As currently, Mark Whitley doing his best to continue trying to pull away.
Yeah, he is. He's doing an excellent job. And I think the one thing also that factors the most into this, also, this track is going to get actually quicker as that berm starts to build up. And I've actually seen some of the fastest lap times turn from a few of these guys, a few of these laps. So if you get a clean lap, and even, you know, we'll see a little bit of that right rear touching the wall. I mean, you know, there is a rule about wall riding that you brought up, Sam, earlier, where you can't just abuse it, and you can't just go up there and just ride all the way along the wall, because it's so much faster, actually. But you know, you're going to have those moments where the right rear is going to touch in the center of the corner, and it's going to actually help you just a little bit to get that truck back down the racetrack, and you'll make some good times. And that's where we could see some of the best lap times coming up from here pretty soon, as this berm continues to build here in these corners.
Trying to build up as we're riding on board with Malik Kuntz. Kuntz trying to find himself into a good finish. It has been a strugglesome season for this 98 machine. Just can't find himself finishing races. He might be fast at some tracks, but then finds himself caught up in Rex. And talking about Rex, he's going to get bumped with that of the 24. Ollie able to hold on behind. That 24 machine almost got completely skewed out of shape, as he'll hold on for 7th place, and Malik will continue to push forward.
Pushing forward, every single one of these drivers are, man. This is getting fun, because it's getting to be a long run here, and the track is starting to get beat up. Even though the berm is building up, that will help that, you know, right rear stability and give you that little bit of a something to lean on in that corner. The track is also starting to, you see, get the blackened groove on it, where that is going to be very, very slick, and that's what we're going to call it tonight, is the slick. So you can see it's already built up pretty hard on that top side. These drivers are trying to make the most speed around that slick, and it's only going to get more slick as the night continues.
Yeah, and what that slickness is that's the track being used up the most, and that's where the track is actually starting to dry up. That's why it's starting to slick off, as it's just constantly, when you know, if you have a ball of dirt, you rub it a ton of times, it's going to get a lot slicker, shinier, and that's exactly what's going on with these drivers driving over this dirt. It's just making it slippier and slippier. But like you said, the berm is going to be helping these drivers try to stay off the outside wall, but it's not going to be a perfect solution. Drivers are going to be running on the outside wall. It's more of a consistent run of you're doing what we call a Ross Chastain, where you just completely ride the outside wall completely. And that's what the drivers have been notified. Please do your best not to do that.
Yeah, they are not allowed to do that for sure. There'll be repercussions if anybody goes out there and does that. And we'll see if that comes into use and that rule comes into play here tonight, possibly. As we're checking out Ethan Smith at the moment. He is now currently 1 lap down back here in 14th. I mean, we've right now got 12 cars a lap down, and right now there's a possibility of the 11th one going down very soon and really steal. So quickly our leaders are lapping people and using up that valuable fuel, possibly. That could come back to help these other lap down drivers.
Yeah, it could be very much an interesting time at the end of this race. As here's Dakota Moniz in 16th position, just having his own run. Currently in front of him, he sees Logan Breakey, who drivers over the radio a couple of laps ago were saying, hey, fuel is going to be interesting if we're not able to fuel up. And here comes a caution flag, and it's the 91 on the front stretch of Mark Morales, all the way back in 22nd position.
Well, this was some help they needed for that fuel, since they're starting to talk about it a little bit on the radio, and tough break for Martin. You know, don't want to see him spun around here, but at some point we felt like it had to come out, and that's usually what happens at this dirt races where, you know, you get these long runs and then you could get a little bit of a rash of yellow. So we could see that possibly happen before we get to lap 60 here at the stage.
Yeah, it looked to be the 91. Got a little bit of a tail slap from Joshua Freed. We're trying to make a pass for position, and it was not going to stay as the 91 with that hit. Spins him around, and as he is completely sideways with the leaders coming on, with oncoming traffic on the way. That is what brought out our second caution of the night. Wild one so far. Got a good, clean green flag run for a bit there. And like Zach was saying, we've got ourselves only 11 drivers on the lead lap currently. And this was a questionable moment of if a caution came out at this time, drivers were thinking maybe coming into pit road if they thought they could get fuel into these trucks, Zach, at this point before the stage break. So then they would hypothetically think that they would be gaining an advantage at the stage when they're expecting other drivers coming to pit road. But it looks like everyone's staying out and keeping that track position.
That they are. I think those decisions are tough to be made. Maybe we'll see a few elect to do it at the stage break, or you know, maybe they have a few of these have figured out, hey, you're not going to be able to refuel. It's just pretty much what you got in the tank here to the end of the race. And that's where I think the worry probably starts to sink in for a few of these drivers up front who have really been driving hard, trying to make the most pace, really racing each other well up here. And they could be in the worst case scenario. I mean, it would be a tough scene to have someone go out here lead, you know, maybe even possibly 100 laps in this race, and then in the last 40 be out of fuel.
It would, it's gonna be a tough pill to swallow for sure, and I think a lot of drivers might have that and a little bit of conversation with the admins of what are we doing, kind of a moment if that happens. And again, this is the hypotheticals of we don't know if the drivers can make it, if they know what the situation is, but we'll find out how they do as we're back to green flag racing here for the Dirt Derby here at Port Royal.
We are back green, and let's see how this start goes as Whitley is able to immediately slide up to that top groove and get the pass done there. But it's side by side from second on back, and now Danny Cochran, he's going to be under threat for Cody Reed to give up that outside groove. He's got to quickly slide up in front of him and does a great job of doing it.
And you're going to be stalling out a couple of these drivers as they're running into one another as we're now coming up to that 16 laps to go here before our stage break at the end of lap 60. Top 10 drivers get bonus points, and right now the whole entire field ripping the top with only that of 11 drivers on the lead lap. And Kyle Rochelle, biggest loser on that restart, falling all the way back to that 8th place.
He has definitely been the biggest loser for pretty much the majority of the night. As the 12 is around right in front of him, the yellow is out.
And it's going to also be collecting that of Eric Stamp and other drivers piling in. And it was a gutsy call by the 12 that backfired quickly as he gets himself spun around trying to do a slide job move in front of the 24, and there was just no space for it. Found himself getting spun around in front of the field.
Oof, tough break here for these guys. And luckily, though, looking at it, there actually is. It just popped up a little bit late for me. There is a required damage flag, and that is on Ryan Crowfoot in the 12 machine. So tough break there for Crowfoot, who was having a great night up inside the top 10 before this incident happened.
And now Crowfoot expected to go into pit road to get that required damage fixed, because if he does not go in, he will be dealing with that of disqualification, which is something we haven't actually talked about. Disqualification is a thing, and if we get a lot more cautions billowing up later on, these drivers do have that of an instant limit, as we see here what brought out the yellow flag. The 12 trying to do a slide job move, just no space, gets the rear end clipped by Ollie Fonseca, but then the aftermath of everyone else, just nowhere to go with the 12 stopped right in the racing line.
Oh, Rochelle trying to make it past. Luckily, he does. Jonathan Smith does a good job, but the last truck coming through, that's Eric Stamp in the 53. He tried to make it through that gap there. That's where that wall opens up for the 12, trying his best to hold the car in position, but it's going to slide when you're on this dirt, especially when you're spun around, and just gets clipped by the 53 there. Man, you're fighting so hard to get to the top side that a lot of times you have those little issues like that.
And speaking of the number 53, you might have noticed the number 53 at our bottom right. This is an event that we're trying to put on Friday, on that a Sunday evening. It's going to be the life celebration of Dave Bush that we're putting on, as Dave Bush dealing with a lot and dealing with some terminal illnesses and putting on a special event to promote how great of Dave Bush is. He's been one of the drivers that we've covered for a long time here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We got a lot of drivers coming together for that event, and we hope that you will also be there, as we'll be dropping actually the GoFundMe in that of the chat here shortly to give you an opportunity to help out someone in the racing community. As we're back to Green Flag Racing, and Mark Whitley is on already 6 truck lengths ahead of everybody else.
He was shot out of a cannon there on that restart. That was exactly what he wants to see. Is now Cody Reed, the newcomer, to the top 2. He gets up there along with Fonseca up to 3rd. Trenton jumped back to 4th. As it shows you, starting on the outer groove is a huge advantage right now.
Massive to have. Is Cody Reed to be trying his best to just hold on from the 25. He's extremely loose. Ollie Fonseca trying his little bit of movements. As another driver thrown into the DNF, that of Crowfoot has officially just called it a night. It's our 3rd driver that has called it in the evening. Here we started with 27, and we're down to just that at 24. As we're looking at the 24 and the 25 continuing to beat and bang, as we're coming up to that of 10 laps to go before our stage break.
A lot of people here trying their best to find just a little bit of sanity before this stage break happens, where you get another quick yellow. But just got to give Cody Reed a good shout out here for getting up to 2nd for him and the Hudson Hornet machine, making them proud in that thing. But we'll see how long he can hold on for it, because Ali Fonseca here looking to the inside. Will Fonseca go for it and give up the outside? No, he elects better. He pulls back up to the top and just tries to hold on, because right now, oh, yellow's out.
Yellow flag's going to be out, and I believe I saw one machine slow. That was the 4 of Jonathan Schmitz. I believe Schmitz might have been the cause of this yellow, as the 4 gets completely out of shape for himself, and also made hard contact with that of Christopher Norris. As we're getting the replay up for this incident, and this is the one thing that the drivers were kind of concerned about, is cautions, braiding cautions. They knew it was going to happen at some point, but it looked like it's not going to be a complete clean run to the end of this stage, as here's the 4 machine trying his best to hold out on his own.
Trying his best indeed here, Sam, and he's up in the slick. Gets a little too sideways there in the center. And look, he's just going to shoot down low here to the bottom. Christopher Norris, nowhere to go for the 38. Wrong place, wrong time, trying to run that bottom lane down there. And it's just going to end up bad for him. Luckily, for his sake, though, no required damage flags around for both of those drivers, so they can continue on here on the dirt.
We'll continue on. We'll keep our eyes out. I know that the Crowfoot had a surprise late pop-up of his required flag, and Christopher Norris, it was a quite hard lick on where he was at his current moment, but drivers are trying to figure out where they want to be for this next restart. Ethan Smith going to get his lap back. That's going to give us back to 12 drivers on the lead lap, as this next restart is going to be the last one before our stage. Either we're getting to the end of lap 60, or the next caution will be the stage break for these drivers. And Mark Whitley, no surprise, to the outside. Zach, it just seems like that's the most optimal place to be on these restarts for these drivers.
No doubt, that is where you want to be. I mean, he shot out of a cannon there last time from that, and I think Trenton Jump, he liked that caution timing there, because he's going to be in the 4th position. He'll restart on the top side and be able to look to go forward here, because that was where Cody Reed was at last time, and it allowed him to get up to 2nd. Fonseca was in 6th. He shot up to 3rd. Now maybe Jonathan Smith can take that role there. I mean, it shows you how dominant those line and the groove that you pick is. So we'll see how it shakes out on these cautions. And another thing I've noticed with these cautions, they're not very long right now. They're very short, so not a lot of time to save some fuel.
No, not a lot of time at all. It's Mark Whitley, Cody Reed going to be side by side. Cody Reed hoping to see that he can keep himself side by side with the 77 on this restart, as Mark has really been able to get back on the gas way better than everyone else, and he does it once again. It's the 77 able to just get back into the throttle, and they're already 3 wide for 2nd place, with the way that Cody is just not able to keep up with the 77 on these restarts.
Not able to get it going there. That's tough. He's going to be stuck on the bottom, and it's going to be even farther back for him. Luckily, he'll be able to find a slot up here and maybe be able to hold him to 4th if he can get back around Fonseca. But Fonseca slides up and tries to in front of Jonathan Smith, but Jonathan Smith finds the groove around the outside, and now he'll try to take that third position from the 24 machine, but the 25. He's going to try to follow him through, but Fonseca throwing the slider here right into Jonathan Smith and does a great job at it. 24 holds on the third.
Holds on. It's that of Ollie Fonseca, as Ollie's trying to just get every point possible for himself. Same for that of Jonathan Smith. These are crucial bonus points for themselves because we are closing in closer and closer to playoff time. Counting tonight, this is the fourth to last race of the regular season before we get to playoffs, and we've had so many different winners that now points are more crucial than ever to get into the playoffs for yourself. As Mark Whitley, Trent Jump continue to try to stay up front. Ollie Fonseca having that of Jonathan Smith. You see the 72 on screen just trying his best to stay in line as we're coming to 2 to go before the stage is done.
This could be a time to gain a lot of points there for sure, Sam. This is not a lot of drivers have shown up here tonight. Only 24 cars left, or trucks out there left on the track. When normally we've seen fields in the upper 30s, but right now the battle for the lead is going to be on here when this white flag flies.
As they're coming at turn number 4, Mark Whitley, Trenton Jump holding steady for themselves as the white flag as stage number 1 is out. Ollie Fonseca is pulled away, but everyone from about that of 4th on back are just stacked on top of one another. But the battle for the lead, so close. Mark Whitley, he's trying to stay high, not to give any other space to Trent Jump. Jump's hoping for a better launch out of the corner, but it's not going to happen for himself. The 77 machine will get the stage win here as they're waiting for all the top 10 drivers to cross the line. It's Tyler Dangler that's going to be the last one to do so. As he crosses the line, the yellow flag will come out, and that is going to be the lap stage break here this evening.
Great job there by Mark Whitley, winning the stage. 10 bonus points for him, and I like the decision from Trenton Jump there not to risk it here early. I mean, he could have went in there and tried to just enter on the bottom and slide all the way up in front of the 77 with a big slide job, but it's so early in this race still. No reason to risk that for anything as we see him coming off a 2 here. The question is, will they try to elect to come to pit road, or will they continue to stay out?
And was thinking about it, was out of the 77, out of the 46 stays out. As they continue to stay behind the base car, we'll see what the next marks are going to be for some of these drivers, as for those, they might be now just figuring out, wait, we can't take fuel. And this is where that racing aspect gets interesting, because I was talking to so many drivers, Zach, before this race, and all of them were saying, okay, we got to figure out how are we going to set up for this stage? How are we going to pit? When are we going to pit? Because I don't think we're going to make it on fuel to the end if we don't come into pit road. And so we'll see how this is going to happen if drivers decide to pull in on the backstretch here, because we're going to learn who has figured out that you can and who's figured out you can't come into pit road for fuel.
Pretty low right here. I'm thinking we might see a good bit of them enter here as they come to the back straight. We said no, they stay out. Then I think they know. I think they figured it out now, and maybe a little bit of hints here given the broadcast to them. But I mean, still, they got to be worried about fuel for sure if we get one of those long runs again.
Fuel is going to be tricky, as it's going to be our 5th caution so far in the run, as the drivers figured out where they need to be on this restart. It's going to be that of Mark Whitley leading the way, being our stage winner, and what a run for himself here this evening as we get ourselves situated. I mean, Zach, no more stage racing as we're closing in on halfway. Now it just seems like, looking into this race a little bit more detailed, the drive that starts in 2nd, it is the worst place to be on these restarts. We have seen the last 2 to 3 restarts where they take off and that driver in 2nd falls all the way back to 5th or worse. So Trent Jump in a terrible spot, and he's got to hope for a miracle restart here.
He really does. He's got to time it well. He has to go when Mark Whitley goes, hopefully to clear that 72. But I can tell you this, their teammates on the outer groove right now, and that is going to make it even tougher because they're going to go together.
They're going to go together. It's going to be Mark Whitley, Jonathan Smith already going to be in line. They're going to be 3 wide back for that 3rd place. Ollie Fonseca going to be trying to do a slide job move on Cody Reed. And it's not going to work. Send him to the moon. There goes the 24 to the fence.
And luckily lands back in the racetrack. Wild Seeds is always going to get hit there. Maybe put him on his wheels. Nope,
no, he hit him in a bad angle.
Oh. Tough break. He went flying though. That was a good attempt of making it back on the wheels, but I mean, these restarts are going to get wild just because everybody's fighting for the top side.
Zali Fonseca. That is the showing of iRacing physics. It's just, you know, it's hard to get it completely realistic all the time. Because there's sometimes when you pinch a driver into the wall and with another driver, it's just, you know, online physics can bounce the car up into the sky. And that's exactly what happened to the 24 here, as Oli Fonseca trying to make the slide job move for third place, but it's just not going to stick the way that he wanted it to.
He tried. He definitely tried. That's a good way to put it for sure. I mean, he was trying everything in his power to make sure he slid up into that gap between the 72 and the 25 here. But, I mean, he's already leaning on that 25. And if you're Cody Reed, you're not backing out of that situation. You're trying your best here to stay on the outer groove. And you can see the 24 just squeeze him into the wall. Not clear. And then here's the launch mode.
Lift off. There goes the 24. He's going to hit the peak on how far he can go up. And then it's going to drop him right back down into the racing surface. He actually gets caught in the fence and just rolls him back. And I've heard other drivers say you can go over that fence. If you go the complete opposite wide side, it will automatically tow you to pit road. But you land on the track, you're hoping for the best, and here comes the late contact. You're going to see a little bit of a bump. It's going to be the 16 of Joshua Kanata. Nowhere really to go for the 16. He had already picked his lane, and he's going to just slide in, not get too much damage. And the tap just was not in the right angle to get the 24 back on his wheels, and Oli Fonseca not where he wants to be on this restart.
No, sir, not indeed. That is a tough break. He was having a good run, and it all just goes up into the, I guess, the catch fence here in turn 1 and 2. So luckily, like you said, he stayed in bounds, but still had to get that required damage flag. As you can see, quick cautions and quick under yellow cautions here as they're going to go back green.
Side by side, it's going to be the teammates, Mark Whitley and Jonathan Smith. Will there be more timing aspects? Try to help that 72 keep himself in between that of our leader in second place. Doesn't look like it. It's just take off when you need. And we're back to green flag racing for the Dilla's Dirt Derby here at Port Royal. It's been a chaotic one so far, and we're surprised as it hasn't got even more chaotic, as already a quick caution, and it's Logan Brakey and Jonathan Smith that look to be a little bit of contact between those two, and it's Smith who gets the worst of it.
Yeah, Smith trying to pull off a slide job maneuver, and it just goes wrong, as I think he got a little bit of help from the two. Maybe we'll see that on the replay, but I mean, it was a stack up from there anyways for this moves. But everybody's just trying their best to get up there. They've seen so far, if you don't get up in that groove very quickly, you get ran over and things stack up. Drivers aren't willing to lift. And I mean, if you lift, you get ran over. So it's one of those situations where you're just so tough to be in. And this is what dirt racing brings out.
And I misspoke. It was Danny Cochran here, like you said, making contact with that of the 72. Just nowhere to go. He's going to spin out. I think the most impressive thing, though, is going to be here late. Watch for the 5 truck, Dakota Moniz. You're going to see everyone coming through, nowhere to go, and so he just spins out to make sure he doesn't hit that of the 72 machine.
That was an excellent job there by Dakota of just wheelmanship to stay out of that incident there. I mean, he's the last truck on the lead lap, and that's a huge benefit for him, as he was able to get that truck slowed down and not get involved in that incident to make it any worse for any of these other drivers. So crazy scenes right here, but these are the yellows that the leaders need. They need yellow flags. We're at the 7th caution now. There's about 3 laps that are ran under caution each time. In my opinion, you're gonna need at least 15 yellows to save enough fuel. In my book, the way the calculations work. So we're almost the halfway now. So we're almost halfway to the 15 number for cautions also. So it could be right on that range, but if we do get that long green flag run that we had earlier in this race, I'm telling you, I just don't see people making it on fuel up in this front lead pack.
Well, if you're watching right now in the chat, what do you think's going to happen? Do you think they're going to make it on fuel, or do you think some of these drivers are going to start running out as we're getting ourselves ready to get back to green flag action? We're still in the first half of this Dilla's Dirt Derby here at Port Royal, but man, has it been a good one so far. We got to see a good 30-lap green flag run during that of the first stage after our first caution. It's been a little bit of caution fest ever since then, but we are back to green flag action, and Mark Whitley is just figuring out these restarts because he is gone again with over a half a second gap lead to second place as they come out of turn number 2.
Everybody fighting for the top groove. It's making things stack up off the exit, and it was close between Ethan Smith, Danny Cochran, and even Kyle Rochelle, the highlighter machine, taking it all the way to the bottom. And that is also another thing I start to wonder. Will we ever see that bottom lane actually start to work? You see how slicked off that top groove is? I think, again, at some point, this top groove gets too slicked off. We may actually start to see the bottom make some headway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a really high chance that could happen, but that's not going to be until much later into the run. We're expecting these drivers that can just no longer run the outside lane, but also it could get to that point, Zach, where there's so much in the experience in dirt racing, as a lot of these guys really don't run dirt racing all the time. Majority of them are oval drivers, that they're just going to stay in that outside wall and just trust that it's going to work. As Danny, what a beautiful pass by that. I know Steele now going to be seeing the crossover move as he's going to be trying to make that pass going forward. Steele not able to get back by Danny, but what a run by the two machine again. Another picture-perfect slide job move that we've been seeing the two do consistently, but now he's got to figure out how to catch up to the two drivers that have been dominating of Mark Whitley and Trenton Jump.
That is Danny just purely using his dirt experience right there, folks, and that shows you what you know. When you know how to drive on a dirt track, it can make things happen. And right now, we're watching the mid-pack of the field, and it's wild. You got Tyler Dingler there having a great run in 7th. You got even Ethan Smith back up here. He was almost close to going a lap. He was a lap down at one point. He's up into the top 10, and we can see him have a good, solid run here tonight also, as everybody, again, located up to the top side.
Now, this is really everyone that's inside of that, right at the marker of staying on the lead lap, is going to be these drivers on screen, as Logan Breaky as well as seeing that of Malik, just trying to run their own race right now, trying to stay out of trouble. For that of the 98 machine, 10th place currently, as Eric Stamp, 9th place. This is the battle for 10th position. But, you know, a lot of these drivers are doing their best to just survive, and that's going to be the continuous word. Survival is the key for tonight, as Ali Fonseca, he had a great trip to the moon, and it looks like that's where he's going to end up here tonight, as he is done. No longer going to be racing here, as he is parked it, as well as left the server, as the battle for 4th place now underway, as, oh no, Steele gets too loose. He's going to be holding on right in front of the 25, but that scare is going to be bringing in the rest of the field if they have another issue like that.
Yeah, they do, and the 5 was spun around on the front straightaway at Dakota Moniz. Him and Justin Smith kind of got into it, and that right there will bring the yellow flag out that a lot of these drivers are very much, I think, welcoming up front.
And this caution, again, like Zach noted on, need more cautions for these leaders if they want to make it to the end of this race, or will they run out of fuel? Oh man, a lot of different questions on how this is going to go. As we get the replay up, again, thank you for joining us on your Monday night. You're watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series, and watch out for the 5 machine as he dives it down low.
Here he goes for it, man, and it's going to be a tough break here. This is kind of dirt racing action in its finest. Is up top, down to the bottom goes the 6, and 2 lanes just meeting together.
Meeting together, and then over the radio, they were so curious on why hasn't the yellow come out. Well, the reason why, there was no oncoming traffic. That is a factor that needs to be shown. And then here comes the leader in lap cars, Mark Whitley as well as Cody Smith, get themselves rolling past the 5, and that's going to put Dakota Moniz a lap down on top of bringing out this most recent caution. And we did a poll on what people think about fuel. It's still underway if you'd like to add to it. Do you think they're going to make it on fuel, yes or no? And currently a majority of the people here, Zach, say that they don't expect everyone to make it on fuel, which I kind of agree on that. I don't expect our leaders, how aggressive they were running at the start of this race. Fuel is going to be a very questionable thing here later on.
Well, I'm getting a little inside info, which is making this interesting for me. The 38 machine is to let me know how much fuel he has. He has 12.8 gallons right now, and he's been running the bottom. He's 3 laps down, trying to save as much fuel as possible. So right there, he's already used 6 gallons in this race, and we're past halfway, yes. But if we do get a long green run, I think the guys up front are going to be in a much tougher position. These yellows are helping out a ton. Again, you save so much fuel under these yellows that, you know, personally, doing the math, you need about 9.5 laps with 50 to go here to be able to run a full flag out. We'll see how it works out here.
We are back to under green flag action. Mark Whitley, who won back at the first dirt race these drivers put on here at ISRC. That was Eldora, a much more of a unique track for these drivers. In the 77, bringing out that caliber of racing here this evening as he pulls out to another major lead. You see that of the 98 machine of Billy Coates, but yellow flag strikes once again. As drivers struggling for themselves. It's going to be that of the 7 of Cody Smith bringing out the yellow.
Cody Smith, unfortunate for him, he's been just trying to stay out of trouble here tonight, and seems like trouble has found him here very quickly in the last few laps. I think just an unfortunate mistake from him, and had a few other drivers getting into him there after he made that mistake. So just a tough break, but 9 cautions. It's getting closer to that, and again, you burn so little fuel here under these yellows, and that was such a quick yellow to come out that they really never got up to speed and burned too much fuel under the green flag situation. This is starting to look a lot better for the leaders.
Well, Cody Smith, with that contact, he's going to have required damage, but gotta feel bad for that of Joshua Kanata, who's been just trying to stay out of trouble here this evening, going to find himself getting some extra damage that he was trying to just avoid being a part of. Drivers in pit road currently, Justin Smith and Cody Smith, both with required damage after some of the incidences they've been involved with. And going to be seeing the 7. He's going to continue to stay out, but he's going to be forced into pit road. Also expecting that of Justin Smith to come into pit road here very shortly, because if they don't come into pit road with required damage flags, they will be disqualified from this race. And also, Zach, another factor we haven't really touched on, because we haven't seen that many big wrecks and drivers continuously being involved with them, but there is an incident limit that the drivers are dealing with here tonight. 25 incidences. Get over that, you are disqualified.
Very quickly, that'll happen to you here. I mean, if, we've seen some beating and banging already, and those maneuvers where you pull a slide job on someone, slide up into them, hit them, and pin them into the wall, that's most likely going to be either a 2x or a 4x, so those can pile up super quickly if we have a bunch of these cautions and these yellows, because that's where the situations I think happen the most with this is when you get this side-by-side action, people are just going for it, trying to get to the top side to clear that truck on their outside. And then you have those incidents, and they pile up very quickly, and you could be DQ'd, and that's not what you want to see. It'll either be the fuel or maybe the officials getting you here tonight.
And also, we're seeing in chat people questioning about the fuel. Feel like maybe they're good on fuel. The reason why we're bringing it up so much, drivers were being told, looking at the data, they're going to be over 30 laps off for making it if the race had stayed green. That's why we continuously talk about it as we're back to green flag racing. So they need the amount of cautions that they do so they can save up to 30 laps of fuel somehow here tonight. That is the number they're aiming for as Mark Whitley continues the lead up front as they go down into turns 3 and 4.
Very, very much good. Another restart from the leader there, and it's just showing you how much of an advantage that is, but it's 3 wide farther back. Ethan Smith making good maneuvers on the bottom, actually. As you see Kyle Rochelle there, he had a big slide there for a moment going into 1, and it's still almost 3 wide with that group there with the A machine. Noah Steele, last week's winner.
It's the battle for 7th place that's currently going on. I mean, for 6th place with that of Ethan Smith, Noah Steele, as well as Kyle Rochelle, trying a lot of different lanes for themselves. The outside lane seems to be the more preferred spot to be for themselves out of the corner. Going to be bouncing off the wall. Is that a Noah Steele? He just can't get off the wall, but yet has enough speed to enter turn number 1. And still, Ethan Smith, a driver that was complaining all throughout this week, and even coming into this race, I don't even know if I want to even start this race. Just take me out immediately. I don't even want to be here. He's inside of the top 10, and right now making the march into the top 5 potentially here.
Good sight to see for him there. I know he didn't want this track, and he didn't feel like it was the right thing to do, but he might come out here and actually have a good finish here down to it. But behind this group, there's more tempers flaring and contact being made. The 91, sorry, actually, looks it's 26 and Tyler Horn gets pinned up into the wall by the 72 of Jonathan Smith, and they're wrecking farther back with just some super aggressive moves being made.
Could not get off of one another. They just kept on wrecking, and that's going to bring out our 10th caution of the day. Tyler Horn and Jonathan Smith, I mean, they were on top of one another the whole entire turns of 1 and 2, and they just could not find a way to get off of one another.
And I think when we see this replay, this will be an interesting one. Maybe that little bit of thing about riding the wall there, maybe Tyler Horn using a little bit to his avail. I mean, I understand you're in the wall, you're trying to keep your position, but man, I mean, he just never lifts here, I think, when we see this. So, wild scenes to be seen here at Port Royal as we have another yellow to help them out with the fuel. And you can see here, I mean, the 26 is just, I mean, he's on the wall riding it, but he was on it before the contact was even made there. And just continues in the throttle, and the 72's kind of just shoved up into him already as he thought he was going to be clear, and they just get stuck together like you were saying, Sam.
Yeah, and just there's nowhere to go at this point because now he's going to be far enough ahead, but now still continuing to get ran over, and the 26 just going to spin around Jonathan Smith, who also is going to get a little bit of a piece into that. Joshua Freed, Dakota Moniz rear ends are just going to scrape between one another. That could have been a lot worse for the 5 machine. And these cautions, we had over that of 12 people all a lap down. Well, it's brought some people back into the lead lap, but I don't know who's going to get the lucky dog for that incident because majority of the drivers that are all 1 lap down all got a little piece of that incident.
Yeah, they did. That was tough to see, and if you get that incident, you're not going to get no lucky dog either. So tough situations for a lot of drivers there, but we'll see how this shakes back out as we already got the pace truck lights off. I mean, it happens so fast here at Port Royal that these caution laps aren't very long, and we get ready to go back to racing action, and we'll see what Danny Cochran can do. He's been one of the best slide job maneuver drivers of the night. We'll see if he can make that work here on the bottom, and we haven't seen this bottom line work at all for the restarts as Mark Whitley's been able to dominate that from the top side. We'll see, can Danny Cochran have something to say about it here.
Well, the main reason why Mark Whitley is getting such good runs is he's taking off before they're even straight. They're not even off the corner, and he's already taking off. And I think that's the big thing, is there really wasn't a talking point of where the restart zone is going to be, and Mark Whitley's using that to his pure advantage.
You're exactly right, Sam. When you're in that corner, it makes it so much tougher to launch from that bottom lane, and these drivers definitely taking advantage of that outside groove as Whitley has took off to another sizable lead over Cody Reed as drivers farther back looking to find positions, and some people electing to run the bottom lane is making a few situations 3 wide farther back.
Oh boy, some drivers having issues, and that's going to be Ethan Smith, who's going to be clogging up, and the biggest wreck of the night strikes with one of those drivers trying to stay low. And we are not going to be going green for long, as that is going to be bringing out our 11th caution of the night.
And required damage flags are out for this one, man. There is a couple of them. First off, the 19 of Tyler Dingler, the 39 of Joshua Freed, and most importantly there, unfortunately for him, after having a good run so far, it's Ethan Smith in the 00 there involved in that one. He's got required damage, so that brings a early end to his night possibly.
As drivers did their best to try to slow down, some not able to. But man, what a wreck this is going to be. As we go back to live, going to be seeing Ethan Smith. He is overcorrected at this point. He was loose out of the corner. He's going to come right back up, and it's going to be the 19 machine Tyler Dangler, the innocent victim, just nowhere to go for himself. That's where the required damage came in for himself, for that of the 19. But then here comes the rest of the field, all trying to slow down the best that they can. Some going up in the outside wall, jabbing the brakes, and others not able to slow down at all. But it's going to be the late ARCA moment here as the 47 of John McAdams from out of nowhere is just going to blast that of the 39 of Freed.
Oof, tough situations here. And, you know, the 00 there, it's, you know, it seemed like he had it pretty well gathered up off the exit of the corner. It's just, I'm not sure if he just gassed it up completely to 100% there in the middle of the straightaway and it just lit the tires up. And, I mean, that thing darted back right, and Tyler Dingler had nowhere to go. I mean, he was just an innocent bystander there. A lot of other drivers innocent in that. And like you said, a few ARCA breaks into situations, and that's where you get big pileups like that.
As that is going to be another caution here tonight. Well, a couple of the sponsors that we got to give some shout outs to. That of Race Car Graveyard, title sponsor here at the Incredible Sim Racing Championship, otherwise known as the ISRC Truck Series. Race Car Graveyard, with one stop to go if you want to start collecting diecasts from plenty of 1/24th ratios to 1/64th ratio diecasts. They are available new, used, or even custom. You can get them today, right now. When you're going to look up Race Car Graveyard, go to Instagram and go to @RaceCarGraveyard. And remember to use the promo code RCGY for 10% off on your next purchase. Another great sponsor we got to give a big shout out to, that's LP24 Clothing. If you're looking for hats, hoodies, t-shirts, or more in great colors and sizes, go to LP24 Clothing. As we are back to green flag action, it's on as we are seeing that of Mark Whitley taking it off down into that of 1 and 2.
Great start once again, starting in that corner like that. It's allowing him to get that huge launch. Trenton jump has methodically worked his way back into second. And here's Kyle Rochelle working the bottom once again. I've seen that 21 down there a ton of times, trying to go forward. And right now, just having not a lot of luck of it as they come off the corner. It's going to be Malik Kuntz trying to get to his outside.
As drivers trying to figure out how to run this track as smooth as possible. The 21 right on the bumper of the 97, that of the 98. Somehow, no, it's not. Here goes Malik Kuntz sliding on his hood. And they thought they were going to save it, and it just did not happen, as that's going to be more drivers piling in. And Zach, this is exactly what our front runners need, or more of these cautions.
You're exactly right about that, Sam. I think this is putting the realm of possibility to make it very likely now. It's getting close to that now, especially with how frequent they've been here back and forth. And 98 there, stuck on his side. I think he's going to have to take a tow. I don't know if he's just waiting for maybe some contact to flip him down, but he's going to have to here at some point. Oh, look, here comes a teammate maybe of Tyler Horn, and makes a little contact but doesn't flip him. And here comes another one, and he's going to flip him on his roof now. That's
wait. Oh, it worked out. He's on his wheels. It's going to be going down into that. Big shout out to Justin Smith, who just got his repairs finished up. And for that of Justin, he'll now get himself rolling here. But for that of the 6, he's got to be careful, because those hard contacts can mount up to incident points, even if you're trying to help someone. And he already had some major damage he was dealing with, as the field is getting themselves stacked up once again. Malik Kuntz, though, he needed that help, because he has been struggling to finish out these races. His best finish was back at Darlington with a 20th place finish, but he has had some top 10 speed at almost every track we go to. And here tonight, he's going to be going a lap down, because he was stuck sideways for that whole entire pacing there. But we'll see if he can get his lap back and maybe go for his best finish this season.
Well, with the way these yellows are playing out, I think he'll most likely be getting that back here at some point if he can stay out of any type of situation. It's starting to, like we said earlier, cautions breed cautions, and oh, man. Train jump just scared me a ton there. I thought we might have seen a loop on the front straightaway here under pacing laps, but he holds on to it. We might have got a caution in a caution there for a second as these drivers are getting wild out there. But looks like we'll get ready to go back green. And again, this top side is just going to be so dominant. I don't know how you're going to beat the 77 now. He has continuous control.
These drivers, they like running on iRacing. They're not fans of Pace Simulator 2023, so they got to entertain themselves somehow out here. Is Mark Whitley already on the outside wall, trying to set up for this run? Trent Jump, he's trying to time out this restart, but it's so difficult because you don't know if Mark's going to take off in the center of the corner or out of the exit of the corner. As the 77, you're seeing those hands being used up and just riding the wall through the corner.
That he is, just using up that wall. And Trent Jump, got to applaud him. He just made the move up to second, and oh no, and farther back in the field, we're seeing beating and banging as we're riding on board with our leader. This is crazy scenes.
Crazy scenes all around, and right now it's going to be a lot of action up front with Danny Cochran trying to figure out how to get by that Cody Reed, but it's difficult to make these moves with everyone on the outside stacked up on top of one another. And that means if they're stacked up, there's no space for a slide job move, and you've got to just make these passes by yourself. And there goes the 2 machine, throwing it all the way down, trying to go for a 2-for-1 special. Can't get the space, but he'll force the issue in front of the 25. That's Danny up to 4th place. He's got a couple of more passes still to do for the 2 to get back up to 3rd. And that's where he's been difficult. He's not been able to crack past that of going up to 2nd or 1st, because those drivers are already gone by the time that Danny gets up to 3rd place.
That they are, man. It's tough to, be in this position like him. And look at this. Oh, they're both in the wall. It's Danny Cochran here coming off of 4, and the 2's going to slide back up behind him. And how you make this pass is going to be the question here on this 8. He's going to have to set him up here very quickly if he wants a shot, as now everybody utilizing that outer wall to make the speed here. And you can see the 2 all over the back deck lane.
As he's going to go throwing it all the way down, going for a slide job move. As Noah Steele bounces off that center of the wall, it's going to slow down and bog him down for a quick moment. The 2 able to make the pass cleanly, as he'll now move up to 3rd place. Biggest issue, he's 3.5 seconds off of Mark Whitley and Trent Jump, who continue to pull away. As drivers, this track is so gone on the outside lane. They have to hit the wall now to make it through. And this is exactly what the admins didn't want to see on track. But at this point, Zach, nobody else is going to be searching for the speed, because running the wall is the fastest place to be, and if one's doing it, they're all doing it.
You're exactly right about that, Sam. If one's doing it, they're all about to just do it because you kind of get old, it gets old in front of you to happen. You see the driver driving away in the center of the corner when he hits the wall. You say, well, I guess I got to go up there too, utilize everything because it's just so slicked off. Like you said, it's almost impossible not to hit that wall and make speed. So right now, everybody's just doing it. As you see the 5 slide job on the 21, he just slams it through the wall after the slide job.
Just make the moves and hope that you're not going to break these trucks with some of these contacts, which is something that could happen. That was something that was talked about by the drivers. You can easily break one of these wheel wells in the drivers if you hit the wall corner just in a bad angle, break the front of the tires for these drivers. So they've got to be careful not to be hitting the wall too aggressively. But they're going for every advantage possible to be trying to close in these gaps as we continue to watch the battling here for that 6th place between that of Eric Stamp, Dakota Moniz, and the highlighter machine of the 21 of Kyle Rochelle.
Having some good green flag running right here, and this is going to make things very, very interesting, folks, as the 5. I mean, you got to give credit to him, man. He missed that wreck earlier, and now just driving his way up into position, and you got the 8 to 53 right ahead, 10 to 25. Dakota Moniz could be looking for a top 5 here tonight.
I mean, he missed 1 wreck. He's missed about 5, it seems like. He has been in so many different shots, but yet, if you look at the field, the 5 looks like almost one of the cleanest trucks out there. With you look at the spoiler and everything around, some of these other drivers have really been beat up with one another. Here comes Kyle Rochelle, sliding it all the way down, just could not make it stick. He'll be losing touch, and behind them, driver going around, that's going to be Jordan Schmitz bringing out the yellow with the self-spin.
Oh, tough break there for Schmitz as he goes around, and he's going to try to get this truck spun back around here and get it going. And he does do a good job of that. And with this, we should be getting a Tyler Horn, I believe, back on the lead lap. So we're continuing to add more people back onto the lead lap. Now there'll only be, I believe, after this 2 trucks, a lap down. And then maybe we could possibly get some of those 2 lap down trucks back on the lead lap. But 13th caution of the night. It's starting to add up. And I think the adding up of that is helping the fuel.
And as well, we got to see that on screen, see the self-spin. So we are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll take it to the end of the Dilla's Dirt Derby here at Port Royal for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. What a wild night it's been. 13 cautions so far. How many more until we get to the end of this race? Well, stick with us. We're going to go side by side so you don't miss a thing. We'll be back in just a few moments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we've coming up to 30 laps to go. Our 14th caution of the day comes out with Kyle Rochelle and Noah Steele making contact between themselves as they were fighting and bickering with one another for the past couple of laps. It was bound to strike at some moment as you're watching the ISRC truck series here tonight on Monday. My name's Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall. And Zach, I mean, it was bound to happen with how aggressive these two drivers were around one another.
That it really was, Sam. I mean, you could see like how that happened. I mean, the 21 just coming in to make the move, and the 8's still there, and that's just a slide job, the wrong way for a slide job. So tough to see, and another yellow again, and it's just been caution after caution ever since we've gotten past our stage. That has really allowed the strategy portion of this race to go out, and it's more about the restarts.
As we got to give a big shout out to the amazing sponsors that allows ISRC to have the run that they do. I already talked about Race Car Graveyard, but as well, the Laugh Lap. The Laugh Lap is known for being the stage sponsor, but if you're looking for quality, fun memes, go head over to the Laugh Lap on Instagram. They post daily, and the majority of their content is racing related. And as well, big shout out to one of the best comedy and variety YouTube videos out there. It's Larry Art Productions, who's also the sponsor of the White Flag and has been a major sponsor here at the ISRC Truck Series for almost every season so far. Thank you to all the amazing sponsors that allows us to have this great content and able to show you this truck series on Monday night. If you're just joining us now, well, it's the perfect time to start just settling in because it has been a great show this evening. Yes, we've had 14 cautions earlier in the race in stage 1. We got to have a great 30-lap green flag run, but it's been the dominance. Mark Whitley, Trenton Jump, Danny Cochran, they have been the 3 drivers that have been up front for the majority of the night. Well, we had our pole sitter, that of Barrick Uphold, taken out in just the first lap out of the exit of turn 2. And it has been a wild race ever since then. Mark Whitley trying to become the first driver to win 2 dirt races in his ISRC Truck Series career. Well, tonight looks to be promising as we're back into the restart zone, and it's a much cleaner launch for that Trenton Jump as he's side-by-side for second place.
Side-by-side, but can he slide up into third? I think it's going to be his question here. Is Danny Cochran able to solidify into second, and Trenton does hold on to it, but they're wrecking farther back, flipping.
Driver is tumbling through that at 3 and 4, and it's going to be Jordan Schmitz, who is just the driver that brought out the last caution, who was finding himself tumbling over.
And right in the middle of the other 2 drivers involved in that last caution is Noah Steele gets into it, Malik Kuntz, a lot of different drivers here involved, and right now it's just becoming a little bit of a yellow fiesta here for these drivers. It's just fighting for the top line, and when you're not clear and you know you're trying to get sideways and get yourself up there with the slide job, you're going to make contact like this, and it's just going to make things very tough to pass.
As drivers might have gotten a little bit confused on what derby we're running. It's not a destruction derby, it's the Dilla's dirt derby that we're supposed to be having here tonight. But you're just going to see the 98 gets in the rear end of the 4 machine, then gets another piece of contact, and the 98 might have forgotten what we were driving because he tried to do an ollie flip here with the 4, but forgot to stay attached to it as the 4 machine then starts to go tumbling.
Oh, tumbling indeed, and other drivers piling into it, just driving through it. I mean, I guess at this point you've been involved in so much stuff, you might as well just go through it. And again, that incident number could be piling up for a lot of this majority back here in the backhand of this field, and things are changing, and also seeing we're going to single file restarts here now, and that's going to change up some stuff.
And single file restarts is going to give an even bigger advantage to that of Mark Whitley because he's already figured out the takeoff point that he is feeling the most comfortable as the leader. Again, there was never truly a restart zone given to the drivers. It's take off at your own want because of the fact the pace car has to pull in the center of the backstretch. Mark's just guessing on where he wants to go, which is forcing the drivers behind him to try to guess, which, I mean, this is going to be an interesting one if the drivers stay green because they just, Danny Cochran's got to figure out how to stay connected with this 77.
He really does. I think, at least for him, he likes that he's not going to restart on the bottom now. He at least gets to start second in line on the top, and we'll see how it shakes out here with the single file start.
as we are back to green flag racing. It's the 77 of Mark Whitley, the 2 of Danny Cochran, going to be trying to get the good launch for themselves, as we're going to be seeing that of the 2 throwing it down. Some drivers getting back out on track, as it's going to be the 77 of Mark Whitley holding steady out of the exit of turn 2, but the bouncing off that outside wall, one bad bump can get you really out of sorts here, as our leaders continue to just grind off that outside wall as Mark Whitley is closing in on some lap traffic in front of him.
The painters this week are going to have to be working on those things. As you can see, just riding on board here, everybody using every bit of this racetrack, even including the wall, trying to make speed. And here they come from Noah Steele in the 8 machine. He's going to pull low and let these drivers go by. Very respectable move from Noah there.
Noah's going to be staying out of the way from the rest of the field as he stays low. His preferred lane is that outside wall, as everyone continues to fly on by, just hammering it. For these drivers, the way that they're trying to say they get away from wall riding is because they're only on the wall for half the corner, and then they're off of it, and they are using up this track. And the 77, I mean, at this point, Zach, there's not a lot that's going to be stopping this field from catching up to Mark Whitley, because he has just figured out how to utilize this wall to the maximum potential.
Yeah, he really has, and I just don't see any way to make a pass. He's going to have to make a blunder. He's going to have to pretty much have that 2 machine get up close to him, have a bad run out of a corner that allows them to dive and pull the slide job maneuver, and we'll see if anybody can do it. I mean, Danny Cochran has probably been the best at it all night, in my opinion, of going down to the bottom lane and making the outside work. And personally, these 3 up front, they're all just pretty much connected to the wall all the way through the corner. So they've thrown any worries about that penalty out of the window. They're just going for it now.
They're sending in, and for that of Mark Whitley again, he won at Eldora back in season 1. He knows how to get into victory lane at these dirt courses. But Danny Cochran in the 2, he has been searching for a dirt win. He has not done it yet. We didn't race at a dirt track last season, but every time we talk about that we're going to a dirt track, with Danny and his experience that he loves to put into dirt racing, this too, surprised yet that he hasn't gotten a dirt win, but tonight would be so much meaningful for the 2 to finally break that curse.
Better watch out behind. He's got a hungry driver in the 46 at Trenton Jump who's been on fire the past few weeks, and on fire they're turning the right side of those trucks in the molten metal with how much grind in that wall they are. But that 46 looks quick right now. If he can try to make a maneuver on the 2, we may have a shot for a battle up here between him and the 77, but looks like Danny Cochran trying his best to hold off and also catch the 77.
Honestly, they must just be hot with how much they're trying to heat those trucks up. They're just, a little bit of friction, trying to get warm up. It's nighttime, the lights are on. Let's see those sparks fully to their maximum potential, as our top 3 all within a half a second of one another, and they're closing in on a little bit of lap traffic ahead. Mark Whitley hoping for lap traffic to stay out of the way. It's going to be that of Tyler Horn. It's going to be the first driver, but it's going to be Jordan Schmitz who just parks it on the inside lane, as he did not have a good run out of turn number 4, got loose, spun around, and that will bring out our 16th or 15th caution. There's been a lot of them here tonight.
Lots of them piling up, man. It's not surprising to see, personally. I kind of expected a heavy number of cautions here tonight, but some of them have been a little bit silly, and that one was just a simple mistake. It's slicking off so much on that top side. Y'all can see how black that groove is. It's just so dry up there, and simple mistakes like that will send you down. And these trucks, once they get sideways and they're almost 90 degrees sideways, pointing towards the inside wall, it's hard to bring it back pointing straight.
And these drivers, now what's interesting is they're over the radio talking and having conversations. Under pacing is really the only time that these drivers can communicate. They do have a voice communication where they can go bouncing back and forth between one another. And Danny Cochran, Mark Whitley trying to have their conversation of how much of the wall are they truly using up, because they're both seeing sparks, either from Mark out in his windshield or Danny in front of him. And they're both trying to say, well, I'm only on the wall for this part of the race. And he's like, oh, I'm only on the wall for this part of the racetrack. So they're trying to play that little bit of gamemanship here tonight. But we did have the poll. Did we think the drivers are going to have enough fuel to make it to the end? Well, drivers are, for the audience member, they say 58% say no, 41% say yes. As the race has developed, the yeses have grown. But Zach, the interesting thing here is we do have overtime. We could go past the limit that we initially thought of 150 laps.
that could make it interesting, especially if we get, you know, a few green flag laps here. Once we go green this next time by, if we get green, you know, all the way down to like the second lap before, then man, we could see where, you know, those extending of the yellows could have a little bit of an effect there for the fuel mileage. So it's not out of question yet, but I do think that it's pretty likely they make it with how many cautions they've had.
Well, Harpoon Design is in the chat saying Mark Whitley is good. So the 77 feeling confident that he's going to be good on fuel all the way to the end. So he's just going to take off and send it as Mark Whitley is right back to where he's been all race long, leading the way and right up to the outside.
Well, and everybody right back to the wall. Just utilizing on entry destruction, jumping up, and it's definitely helped making that speed for these drivers up front. But it looks like Danny Cochran going to have a run through 3 and 4 there, but unfortunately it's going to snap loose there right off the exit. He's going to lose any little bit of chance he had at a slide job maneuver, but it's close up front here between our top 3.
Big reason why that didn't work out. There was a gap between that of the emergency exit for drivers out of the exit at turn 4. There's a gap there. The drivers have to make sure they get off the wall at that point. He's riding on the top of the 2 machine, trying to hold steady. There's that gap. He has to crank it down, but caution flag's going to strike as drivers going to be tumbling once again in the middle of the field as more drivers continue to struggle.
Struggles are continuing, man, and we'll have to see how this shakes out in the final laps. I tell you, it's going to be a tough situation to try to make that pass for the lead on Mark Whitley. He's going to be almost in a impossible situation, in my opinion, to try to get back to where he needs.
As Tyler Horn, it looked like, having issues with that of the 4 machine as they were on the backstretch bringing out the yellow. It's going to be less than 10 laps to go, and we're back to green flag racing. It was the 6 machine that found himself going tumbling as Christopher Norris, Justin Smith, Kyle Rochelle, Tyler Horn, and Cody Smith all with required damage after that incident. I know that for Cody Smith, he's been in pit road with required damage this whole entire time, but 17 cautions here, Zach, and now the drivers get to settle in. It's going to be less than 10 laps to go, and if we get an immediate caution, these drivers will have another restart in regulation. But if we get a couple of green flag runs and we get to less than 5 laps to go and a caution flag comes out, that will force us into overtime. These drivers do have 3 attempts if needed. And Mark Whitley most likely hoping and banking that this race is going to stay green as we continue to stay single file restarts here in these late couple of restarts.
We'll have to see how it works out here. I mean, Whitley has been impeccable up front ever since he's got there to the lead, and the outside has just been the dominant way, and the berm is built up there on the top groove. It has been impossible to get past the 77 restarting up top, so we'll see if anybody can find something. Does a mistake come from the 77? Because it's so slicked off that you can easily make that mistake, and that's what Cochran's been doing. He's had a good center of 3 and 4, but again, as that wall ends, he is just breaking loose after he gets off it.
Trying to stay off the outside wall, and it is a little bit too much turn, and away it will go. We've seen some drivers get a little bit of issues for themselves, but as they exit out of turn number 4, already up, gassed up and rolling, we are back to green flag action for the Dilla's Dirt Derby here at Port Royal Speedway, and Mark Whitley slamming the wall into turn numbers 1 and 2, trying to get the better launch out of the corner and trying to build up a gap any way possible.
He had a pretty good hit on the exit there. The exit ones will slow you down a little bit, actually. You want to be coming off of that wall late on the corner and getting away from it. And right there, he hit the wall off of 2, but that time off 3 and 4 was very close to the wall, but did just enough to get away and build the gap on the 2 machine here, as he does every single time. Puts a couple car links between him and the 2, and the 2 just couldn't get off the wall there in the center of 3 and 4, and he stayed right.
As Mark going to be continuing to find the center of the corner, bouncing off the wall, and what's helping him there is it's allowing this 77 to get straight earlier than the 2 and the 46, as our top 3 are gone, pulled away, 5 to go. As you're seeing the 77, also with hitting the wall, that's not adding to the incident limit because he's not hitting it hard enough for the 77, the 2, or the 46, or the rest of the field. You got to be making contact with other drivers or at a significant speed to get any incident points for hitting the wall, as 77 out of the exit of turn 4, seeing the 2 trying to close in the gap with that at 4 to go.
4 laps clicking away, and it'll be quickly down to 3. And like you said, no incident points building up, so I don't have any worries from this front group about being DQ'd. But it has closed up a little bit here. The 2 has got closer. Where he needs to be better is off the exit of 4. It's right here where he steps out sideways late into the exit. That hasn't been working out. Whitley touches the wall a little bit. That slows him up. But Cochran about a truck and a half back. He needs to find a little more speed if he wants a shot.
And he needs to make the pass on lap 2, because lap 1, Mark is going to throw it all the way down. I'm expecting him to try to defend the best that he can, as Tyler Horn is going to be officially out of this race. He is done. 3 laps to go. About to come to 2 to go. Danny Cochran needing to set up the best exit that he can for a slide job move in the entry of one of these corners. 2 to go here at Port Royal.
Opening up the gap. Whitley is up front. Great job by him there to open it up a little bit here coming down to the end. And right there, a little mistake in 1 and 2. It lets Cochran close in. It's a truck link now.
Diving it down low. The first slide job attempt from that of Danny Cochran. Gonna go straight up to the outside wall. Mark Whitley with a crossover move. Side by side. And the 2 gets shoved to the outside wall. It's your Lariat Productions white flag. And Mark Whitley with a beautiful crossover move. He will hold steady through 1 and 2. Coming on in the back stretch. It's Mark Whitley with that of a truck length and a half over Danny Cochran. And it continues to grow down into turn number 3. Trent jump. Wall riding, can't hold off for a second. Danny cuts him off, and it's Mark Whitley winning at the dirt again as he wins here at Port Royal.
Great cross back over by the 77, the 2. I mean, he pulled a very good slide job there to get to the top spot, but it just wasn't enough momentum to carry, and the 77 just has the run off the exit, is able to cut down, makes a little contact with the 2 that sends him up the racetrack, and that was enough to get away and get his second dirt victory here at ISRC.
And as well, what a finish back in that of 5th place. Dakota Moniz survived so many different wrecks. 5th place for the 5 truck.
Great job by Dakota. Just an excellent run once again for him. Had a good run last week and now continues that over here to the dirt track. So great job by him there. That's some valuable points gained for him.
That's going to be the best finish for the 5 machine as the 77 gets to have his fun. Mark Whitley. He's going to be sliding all around and getting to quote-unquote burn it down here tonight. That wall certainly got tore up, as we will be going on a quick break. When we come back, it's the post-race show. We'll talk to our top 2 and our spotlight driver. We'll talk to you in just a few moments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show on Freaky Fast for broadcasting for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series, and race number 8 on the dirt. Came down to 3 drivers maximizing the wall, maximizing the dirt, and getting themselves pulled away and getting themselves up front. It was the 77 of Mark Whitley getting himself into victory lane. Hey, let's talk to Mark on his victory here tonight. Mark, it's Sam and Zach of the booth. You got us?
I got you.
Well, congratulations on the win. How you feeling about that? And as well, are you smelling smoke? Because that right side was used up on that wall.
I don't know if I smell smoke, but I don't think there's a right side door on it anymore. Just trying to, you have to run the high side, and especially at the end of that race. I mean, the wall was the same color as the track. So me and Danny were talking. It's like you go in the corner just kind of guessing where the wall's at, and I was go in there and pitch the right rear out there, and I'm like, all right, right rear, tell me where the wall's at, because I can't see it. It was definitely crazy. I mean, early in the race, it was pretty easy to not worry about hitting the wall, but toward the end of that race, I mean, it was so slick, and the wall was pretty much, I mean, it was the same color as the track, so it was just a blind man's guessing game of where the wall was.
Well, Mark, it was an excellent job by you, man. Take us through those restarts, because that seems like that was the huge advantage you had there, being able to start up top. How valuable do you think that was?
Well, I started on the bottom one time, and I went into turn 1 and went through the slick, and I about went through the wall. So I decided every other restart I'm going to do the outside, and I kind of do what some of the late model guys do in real life. They just sit there and kind of ride the cushion a little bit, and then just go when they get a good run off. And we just kept getting good restarts, because I know down there on that bottom, it was almost impossible, especially if you were second in line. And you're either restarting in the slick or you're on the flat down there, and it just was so hard to get a restart. So I just tried to be consistent and just get a good launch and make sure I didn't overdrive one, which was easier said than done, especially toward the end of the race, because you couldn't see the wall. It was just there's a wall out there somewhere. So hopefully we'll find it and not be in the wall too bad, because I know sometimes hitting the wall can be fast, but the way we were doing it, it won't making us faster. That's for sure. Because it just seems like I was trying to run a line, and the wall would just suck you up there, and it would just kill your momentum. So I was trying to stay off the wall, but stay as close as you could on the restarts. Because if you stayed too low, you'd be in the slick, and then they could get a run on you on the outside. And once they got up to your outside, that was all she wrote. So you had to protect the outside at all costs.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly did see that wall being used up a lot here tonight. But Mark, you get the win. You're now got your second win of the season. How are you feeling now moving into these next couple of races? I know we only got 3 more left in the regular season before the playoffs. We got that of Fuji road course racing next week, and then we're going back to traditional racing with Kansas and Bristol to finish off the regular season. How are you feeling with those next 3?
I feel great now that we've gotten out of this slump. We had like 3 straight weeks of like 25th or worse. It was getting kind of rough, so this is a great way to turn it around. And I've never raced at Fuji, so that's gonna be another track. I just bought this track yesterday, so it was the first time laps today were the first laps I had on the track. So I put over 100 in practice just to get ready for it. But I think Bristol, that's going to be probably one of our strong suits, especially in the trucks. I have a pretty good handle on it, Bristol. So hopefully we can get maybe one more win before the playoffs. Go ahead and get another one. Just give us a little cushion while we're in the playoffs, and go try to restart and put our nose to the grindstone for the playoffs, and hopefully we can have a similar run as we had last season.
Well, Mark, congratulations again on the win. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, big shout out Brantley over at Harpoon Design. He does all my paint schemes. He does the spotting for all my races. At this point, I think I have a race every day of the week. So appreciate him coming over and being the spotter every race I got. He does awesome work on these paint schemes. Check him out at harpoondesign.com, or if you just want to check out some of the other work he's done, he's got about just shy of 2,000 paint schemes uploaded on Trade and Paint for anybody to use. So go check him out. And then another shout out to my family for tuning in to these broadcasted races. I appreciate all them tuning in and getting text messages after the race. I know my granddad's already texted me. He's usually the first one that texts me, so I always appreciate that. So can't thank them enough. And then I guess final one goes to y'all guys for putting on the broadcast. I know had a lot of cautions tonight. Dirt track kind of sometimes happens, so I know y'all made it entertaining, so it should be fun to go back and watch. Hopefully it's a little bit little less stress inducing from on the couch than it was in the driver's seat. So I can't wait to go back and watch it.
Well, it certainly was a fun one to call there, Mark. Congratulations on your win, and good luck at Fuji next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Take it easy.
As we go from that of our victory lane, let's head to second place to Danny Cochran, who was coming through the field, had moments of brilliance. We got to see some of the best slide jobs by the two machine, but had one attempt, and that was it at the end, and it just could not stick. We got Danny with us. Danny, what a run you had here tonight at Sam and Zach up in the booth. You come away second, but man, boy, it looked like tonight was a tough one to stay off that wall.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a little bit easier if you could actually tell where the thing was at. But when the entire guardrail is or wall, it's brown from all the dirt and just the entire race, you can't even see where it's at going into the corner. I mean, I really tried to stay off of it, and because I didn't want to tear my truck up, especially battling for the win like that. But you couldn't stay off of it. You slide it into the corner, you set your corner like you normally do, and even when I feel like I'm being kind of reserved with it, you just slide up into it anyway. So yeah, it was really tough to stay off that wall tonight.
It looked like it really was, Danny. There, we started this race with 150 laps, man. We had actually a pretty long green run there at the beginning of this race. Was there any concerns at the beginning of this race, or any thoughts about fuel because not being able to fuel these trucks up under yellow?
Not for me. I started saving like literally at the drop of the green flag. I'd only be about half throttle at the most on the straightaway, and at that point where everything wasn't rubbered off, you had more grip, and you could afford to stay lower RPMs and keep your engine running lower. That way you didn't burn as much. And when we got to the stage, I was already good on fuel if I maintained the pace I was running. But we got all those cautions there in that second half that I really hoped we wouldn't get, because I feel like if it would have stayed green, I know the 77 and the 46, they were both concerned about fuel making it to the end. So I was really hoping that it would go green there.
Well, it didn't go green, but you had to make some great passes there, Danny. I mean, how was it trying to make some of these slide job moves? Because it seemed like you're the one that made it look the cleanest out of everyone else, as we saw a lot of drivers just throwing it down and running into one another. But how was it trying to make some of these clean slide job moves?
Calling it clean's a stretch. There was a couple times I accidentally got into people, and I definitely didn't mean to. But it's just a matter of trying to use the brake and not just full bore into the corner. If you can do that and show what you're going to do and give the guy plenty of time to react and maybe cross you over, whatever he wants to try and do, kind of like Mark did, then you can get it done fairly clean. I think everybody kind of went into this race knowing that's how you would have to pass. But I feel like we were able to do it pretty well overall. It wasn't that bad, like on some of the restarts getting around. It was annoying, but we had better speed than some of the guys behind us, so we were able to get around them pretty quick. Getting around Trenton and trying to get around Mark, on the other hand, those slide jobs were a little bit tougher to pull off.
Well, you still came away with a second place finish, almost getting the win there at the end. But Danny, congratulations on a second place. Before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, Buddy's Custom Baits and Larry Arts Productions and Kentucky Bluegrass Sports Talk Radio for riding along on the truck with me tonight. My team, Larson Line Racing, admins that put the show on, and lastly, you guys for broadcasting.
Well, that's going to be a second place finisher, Danny Cochran in the 2. Congratulations and good luck at Fuji next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
As we go from second place, let's talk to our spotlight driver who, even in chat, you noticed it. It's the 5 machine of Dakota Moniz coming away with his best finish of the season so far. Dakota, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You come away in 5th place. Again, your best finish of the season. But man, how was it trying to avoid all the carnage tonight? Because we saw you had a lot of close ones here tonight.
It was definitely tough dodging all those wrecks out there. We got knocked down a lap down a couple times, got taken out a couple times as well, but we just kind of stuck with it, and we were able to dodge most of the carnage at the end and snuck away with the top 5.
That you did, Dakota, man. Congrats on that. Now this is 2 weeks in a row where some good finishes for yourself, some good points. How's it feel momentum-wise carried into these next few weeks?
Honestly, it feels great. The competition in this league is just so tough week in and week out. So even getting in the top 10 is just an accomplishment in itself. So coming away with 2 solid finishes in a row really should help us in the points, and definitely it's going to carry the momentum into the next few races for sure.
I mean, Dakota certainly is. It's good to see that we're heading to some of these. We're heading to one more difficult track at Fuji. Then we're going back to traditional racing. How are you feeling with getting back to more traditional racing after a pretty tough streak of racetracks that we've been going to so far?
Yeah, honestly, it's going to be quite refreshing to get back to some normal racing, some of the normal 1.5 mile tracks, stuff like that. I'd say overall these last few stretches of races for the team has been pretty good, so I'm pretty happy with how things have turned out, and definitely looking forward to getting back to those normal tracks.
Well, Dakota, again, congratulations on your best finish so far this season. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I just want to shout out to Hot Lap Designs for rocking my paint schemes every week. They do an amazing job, so if you need anything done, go ahead over to Hot Lap Designs. Larson Line Racing, got 2 in the top 5 this week. Love racing with those guys every week, and of course you guys put on a great show every week, and love watching it.
Well, that is going to be the 5 Machine, Dakota Moniz. Congratulations on 5th once again, and good luck next week.
Thank you, boys.
As we go from our interviews, let's check out where the unofficial results are here this evening. As again, we got to see a lot of different driving styles, drivers testing the bottom at moments earlier on in the race, others testing out the outside lane, and overall, it was a chaotic one that came down to 3 drivers working their way, wall riding their way up to surviving and pulling away from the rest of the field. I mean, Zach, our top 3 were so dominant at maximizing the speed on bouncing off the wall. They were over 7 seconds ahead of that going to be a 4th place.
Yeah, I mean, they were a half second ahead of, a half a second faster on the last lap than any truck behind them. So it was definitely one of those usages for sure of making the most out of the grip there.
Maximizing the grip, and here's where our top 10 are going to be finishing now. Mark Whitley going to get the win. Danny Cochran in 2nd. 3rd goes to Trenton Jump. Cody Reed going to take 4th with Dakota Moniz in 5th place. Logan Brakey gets 6th. 7th goes to that of Jonathan Smith after himself being involved with some big wrecks. Still coming away with 7th. Martin Morales Jr. caught up in some wrecks in 8th. Nick Crawford, Wyatt Knight for the 74. He comes away with 9th place. In 10th goes to that of Noah Steele.
And as you look through the rest of that leaderboard there, it's some tough nights all around there. First one groups is you got 2 trucks, 1 lap down of Smeets and Kanata there in 12th and 13th, but from there on back, it's 11 laps down and greater. So tough finishes for a lot of these drivers, and the one I look at the most probably is Barrick Uphold, who finished in 26th. I mean, he started on the pole, and he's out of this race on lap 1, and expected big things from him here tonight. Unfortunate finish for him, though.
Talk about potential chances of drivers getting their first win. We thought maybe he was going to strike there for the 17, but not so fast, as gets the pole, not even able to finish a full green flag of 1 lap. Was the 17 before he was done. But the driver that got to the lead and really never thought about giving it up, it was the 77 of Mark Whitley, and with a dominant run, he will win here tonight. But the difficulty, like we said, does not cool off. They're going back to Japan for Fuji, and Zach, a track that I know for on Saturday nights, expecting to have some fun at Fuji, but here for the Truck Series, drivers aren't sure what they're getting themselves into next week.
That they don't, man. Fuji is a technical racetrack. It's got a giant long front straightaway that could set up some interesting moments with some draft coming out of the final corner and heading down to turn 1. That could be the #1 prime passing position for these drivers. So I'm excited to see how it plays out. Japan's got some great racetracks, and this will be the 2nd trip to Japan for these guys this season after heading to Motegi earlier in the season. Now they're going to hit the road course of Fuji, and some great scenery around there. I think we should expect a pretty good race around there. I'm cautiously optimistic because I haven't seen a stock car race around there, but I think that track could actually produce some good racing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they're going to bring. As for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we got some more great coverage to give you throughout the week. Tomorrow, it's the Full Send Racing Series for their truck action. Season 4 for them, as they will be heading to Watkins Glen to see what the trucks can handle there. Then, on that of Thursday night, it's the Stars and Stripes, as they're going to take the ARCA cars to Nashville Fairgrounds. Then on Saturday, it's going to be the WSSR heading to road course action with that of Twin honoring Motegi's Grand Prix course. Excited to see how that's going to react for that of the Next Gen Cup car. And then on Sunday, we did a quick preview on it. It's the life celebration of Dave Bush. And I hope that you can show up for Sunday night. That is going to be a special night, special guests joining us up in the booth, and as well, some special schemes to celebrate that of the magical 53 of Dave Bush. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. Zach, any final thoughts before we get out of here and prepare for tomorrow night?
Well, a wild night of dirt racing. I expected that when it comes to dirt. So we'll have to see what they do for next season for the dirt schedule and see if they bring it back or they take it off like last season. But, man, still nonetheless, great job by Mark Whitley there winning this race, controlling it from the out front. And congrats to him. And good rebounds from a few drivers out there for sure that were involved in a bunch.
A lot of rebounds for some hoping next week's going to be a little bit of a better foot, but there's only 3 more races left in the regular season before the playoffs begin. Hopefully you're excited for the madness because playoff action has always brought out the best for these drivers on Monday night for the ISRC Truck Series. But like we said, we're not done this week. Tomorrow night, it is the Full Send Racing Series taking the trucks to Watkins Glen. Hopefully we'll see you there as we will be calling it a night here at Port Royal. See you tomorrow night at the Glen.